Good evening, everyone. We're ready to begin tonight's City of Gardena regular City Council meeting for June 26, 2018. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
All members of the council are present.
Thank you. Let's see, we've had no closed session, and we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, our pledge will be led by a brother and sister, Mariela and Daniel Vasquez. And immediately following that, if you can continue standing for our invocation, which will be led by Minister Lewis. So everyone, please stand.
Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we are before your throne of mercy and grace, we praise your holy and righteous name, and we thank you for your Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for it is in Jesus' name that we ask for forgiveness of our sins, and it is in his name that we offer thanksgiving for all our many blessings. Lord, we are thankful that you have allowed us to be gathered here, that once again we may discuss and implement the business concernings of our city. So, Father, as we prepare to take up these matters, we are mindful and prayerful of the troubles and cares which plague this world. We pray, dear Lord, for our leaders and elected officials in our national as well as our state governments. And finally, Father, we pray for Mayor Serta, the City Council, and all those in city government, that those who are tasked with making decisions concerning the directions that the city of Gardena takes will be continually blessed with the wisdom which only comes by Christ Jesus. That the things which are said and done here be according to thy will, and that thy will be continually done here on earth as it is in heaven. These blessings and all we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
If I can have our two pledgers come back to the front, please. So tonight's Pledge of Allegiance was led by Mariela Vasquez and Daniel Vasquez. Mariela is 10 years old, and Daniel is 9 years old. Both are participants in the summer day camp at Freeman Park, which is sponsored by the City of Gardena Recreation Division. And in addition to summer day camp, the sister and brother team also attend the after-school program at Freeman Park. Both students will be at Chapman Elementary School in the coming school year. Mariela will be in the 4th grade, and Daniel will be in the 3rd grade. So can you guys tell us who brought you here tonight?
Our mom brought us here.
Where's your mom at? Right here?
Yes.
All right. How about everybody give them a round of applause for bringing her out? And is there anything that either one of you would like to say?
Thank you for having us here and inviting us.
Okay. Thank you very much. Daniel, would you like to say anything?
Thank you for having us here.
Okay. Well, thank you both for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we look forward to seeing you guys back in the future. Everyone, please give them a round of applause. You guys can take your seat now, and if I could have Minister Lewis come back to the front as well. So tonight's invocation was led by Minister John C. Lewis, Sr., who is a minister at Gardena Valley Church of Christ, which is located at 1842 West Gardena Boulevard. Minister Lewis has served as a senior minister at Gardena Valley Church of Christ since July of 2012. Although not a California native, he grew up in Los Angeles, where he attended Thomas Jefferson High School. During the Vietnam War, he served as as the infantryman with the 101st Airborne Division of the U.S. Army. For the past 24 years, he's been a member of Gardena Valley Church of Christ and a resident of the city of Gardena. It was here that he and his late wife, Deborah, raised their 2 youngest of their 4 children. Minister Lewis attended El Camino Community College, earning an associate's degree in English, and then transferred to Cal State University of Dominguez Hills in 2016, where he received a BA degree in history. Minister Lewis, would you like to say anything?
I just want to take this opportunity to thank the mayor's office and our honored city councilman, and to say good evening to my friends and neighbors, and just to thank you for this opportunity to once again come before you and to bring the invocation this evening.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So next we'll be honoring our military veteran at this council meeting. Tonight's person we're honoring is military veteran Gerald Jerry T. Dudley, who served in the United States Army. Mr. Dudley was chosen and recommended by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka. Would you like to say anything before I read his bio?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know it's a little off that Jerry's not an actual citizen of Gardena, but Jerry and I were permanent partners for about 6 years on the Gardena Police Department. This man, after serving Vietnam, came to the city, became a police officer. I was his trainee, and I'll tell you what, I didn't think he liked me in the first year. He taught me everything I knew about being a policeman. If it weren't for him, I probably would have never made the rank of lieutenant, because what he taught me was how to be a good policeman, how to treat people, and just how to do things right. So when this came up, I had talked to the city manager about I needed to really honor my ex-partner, who actually gave us 20 years of service before a bad back injury caused him to retire. But it's amazing the stories I heard about Vietnam from an actual person that served. And I know how hard it was for Vietnam vets to come home after serving. And I just thank Jerry for all that he's done. Yes, ma'am.
May I borrow your computer for a second? Let me read his bio. Give me just one moment here. Fix this one here. Okay, tonight we're honoring Gerald Jerry T. Dudley, and his military service includes: Mr. Dudley was inducted into the U.S. Army on April 8, 1968. He served overseas in Vietnam with the 4th INV Division of the 54th Infantry, working as an infantry's operations and intelligence specialist. Mr. Dudley was honorably discharged from the Army on January 18, 1970, at the rank of Specialist 4. His military honors that were received include the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Campaign Medal, Vietnam Service Medal, Good Conduct Medal, Overseas Service Bar 1, and SPS M14 Bar. Also, Mr. Dudley served with the Gardena Police Department a number of years ago and retired with the title of Police Detective. Would you like to say anything, sir?
Sure. The program that you're doing is a beautiful thing. Our veterans need to be recognized, and they need to know that they're appreciated. It's very difficult to go from civilian life to military life and then try to come back to civilian life again. And it's extremely difficult for veterans that go into foreign countries and have to fight wars and come home, and they need to know that the people respect them and recognize them and appreciate their service. A lot of men come home with issues, and I think if they know that the people support them and appreciate them, it will help them better get through their issues. And I would like to thank Councilman Tanaka, the City Council, the Mayor, City Manager. You have a wonderful thing going, and I hope other cities fall behind you. I think it's great. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Very nice.
Also, just of note, the coin that was just received was one that was specially designed here It's got the City of Gardena logo on there. It also has all the branches, the military branches on there. So something that was specially designed just for our military veterans that are receiving it. Thank you. So next, item number 482 is the Vietnam Veteran Wall That Heals memorabilia collection that's being presented tonight by Christopher and Charlotte Lynch to the city. If you guys could please come forward. Yes, thank you. Or not. Is that high enough?
That's fine.
Thank you, Mayor Serta. If I may, for just a real quick second, Mr. Dudley, thank you for your service. Did he disappear? To our country. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and fellow citizens, in April of this year, Gardena was honored to have the mobile veteran wall, the wall that heals, proudly displayed in our city. The wall was visited by hundreds, if not thousands of people, and its impact will be felt for years to come. Thanks should go to the Gardena Police Department, specifically Sergeant Gonzalez, who was in the charge of logistics for transporting the wall to the city complex. This was all done with the assistance of the Torrance Moto officers, and a special thanks to Ms. Kelly Fujo and the hardworking and dedicated staff of the Parks and Rec Department. Kelly, you brought to our city a very memorable occasion. Is she with us this evening?
Yes, just in the back.
Would you please come forward? And if there's any of your staff, please come. Is she coming? Okay. Thank you, Sergeant and Kelly. My husband, Chris, and I were very blessed to also be a part of this extraordinary event. I witnessed the escort that transported the wall to Gardena, and we both worked to assemble the wall and to serve as docents. I was further honored to be entrusted with the task of collecting the myriad of personal items that were left behind the wall, or behind at the wall. And this was entrusted to me by Ms. Fujo. Some of these items included 25 bouquets of flowers, of course, which will not go in the box, some pictures, notes, etc. Rather than see the items that were collected end up in a plain cardboard or plastic container and stashed away to be forgotten, Chris offered to make a box. When we went to look for this wood, this here, the Purple Heart from South America, captured my eye, and I felt it was very befitting to use it in this project. We have created a special box that we feel both memorializes the event and creates a fitting repository for these items. In short, the brave men and women who died in Vietnam deserve a proper resting space, and so do these mementos that were left behind. Mine, I mentioned, the top of the box was carved by an individual some of you may know, Clint Daniel Jr., a woodworker who was a police officer here with the Gardena PD. It is our great honor to present this box and its contents to the City of Gardena, along with this photo album of pictures taken before and during the event. I know there's many more photos out there that are not in here, but there's still some room. There's about 200 photos in here that have been placed. And this is the box that Chris has made. So, please.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you very much for allowing us this opportunity to present this. But I think that Ms. Lynch and Mr. and Mrs. Lynch would like to present it to the Mayor and City Council as the hosts of that event. And we have a couple other volunteers that are in the audience also. I know the Takahashis are here, and if you'd like to call them up too to take a group
They
picture.
could please stand or come forward. It'd be great.
Thank you. Then maybe you can come down and accept
We're going to
it from
come
the
down and
Lynches.
take a picture after everyone has spoken.
What are we doing?
We're going to all come down, but we just want to thank you. I mean, that's amazing what you guys just are presenting us with there. Thank you so much for taking the time to put that together. To Sergeant Gonzalez, Kelly Fujo, and all the volunteers who participated, thank you. I mean, the community was just elated in just how much was put into the wall that heals, not to mention this entire council. So we truly appreciate all the volunteers that assisted in making that wall happen. So
It was our pleasure.
thank you, thank you. We're all going to come down here.
You want to carry this on? I guess go back there.
Okay, so next we'd like to make a quick announcement. Mr. City Manager, can you make the announcement for us, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Serta, members of the City Council. I just want to take this opportunity to call Spencer De La Cruz forward. Spencer is our new Economic Development Manager. As the City Council is well aware of our last study session, we had a pretty significant discussion about economic development and the importance of a future growth of Gardena. And we're very fortunate to have Spencer join our team, who comes with a lot of experience. He'll give you a little brief rundown of who he is, and I just wanted to introduce him to City Council and the community.
Good evening, City Council. First, I want to just share my enthusiasm for wanting to be here, being part of the city manager staff. The opportunity that I have to represent the city of Gardena on behalf of economic development is tremendous. So I understand, I appreciate the opportunity. I've already had a really good opportunity to meet with a lot of the business entities that are out there looking to expand. And I can openly tell you that the city of Gardena is a place where a lot of businesses want to be. And it's my mission, my commitment to you, the city of Gardena, the city manager's office, to ensure that we really grow the city.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, well, welcome to Gardena. We're looking forward to all the great things you're going to do as far as economic development is concerned. And I appreciate the fact that you've already shared with me some of the plans that we're looking at doing, especially down Rosecrans and some of our other streets. We have a lot of great opportunity that's going to be coming forward, I believe, over the next year. So thank you again.
Thank you all.
All right. So next, we're going to move on to appointments. Item number 4C1. Does any member of the council have any appointments to be made to any commissions, committees, boards, or council at this time? Okay, if not, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. Does any member of the council have any items that they would like to discuss separately? If not, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar as is?
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Cascanian. Will you call for the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next we're moving on, excuse me, to item number 7A, to the Planning and Environmental Quality Commission action sheet. First item, 7A1, which was a continuation to item number 7B1, which is a site plan review. Before we go into this, Mr. City Manager, can you give us a quick little overview or slight presentation on what this one particularly entails?
Absolutely. Mayor, Serta, members of the City Council, the first item, 7A1, is really a receive and file because the meeting was trailed to the June 14th meeting. So my comments are specifically directed to the June 14th meeting. They're both exactly the same plan. So for Council's information, several weeks ago, I presented to all the City Council a site plan and elevations regarding this project. This project is located in Gardena, in an old underutilized property behind the businesses at Rosecrans and Van Ness. Many of us remember this site area as being a site area that held an old automotive use. It had gone through several iterations on what they actually did there, but it's certainly underutilized. The back area of this property, in fact, was just a infill property, and I literally mean infill. It was at one point a culvert that was filled in many years ago. So just a little bit about the site description here. That's where it's located. It's that project ends where the red lines, and that's what the borders represent. A little bit, the next slide is a representation of the site map of what this project will look like. I know it's a little bit hard to read, but I gave all of the council the actual plan that makes it a little bit more. The site meets all of the requirements as required by our code and was passed by all members present at the Planning Commission. A little bit more of the elevations on what this is going to look like here. So imagine taking this dirt lot that has nothing there and turning it into something like this. So that's what's pretty representative of the type of developments that we're seeing throughout Gardena. This is a mixed-use project, so there are some live-work units there, but they're predominantly residential. This is another view of the elevations as you look at it from a different direction, and one more set of elevations. Next, there's been some discussion about development opportunities. This is a major shopping center in our major quarter of Rosecrans. The yellow box highlights other opportunities for development. The large portion of this yellow box is currently being marketed for sale. That's the property that's adjacent to Stars, the inline shopping center there, and the old Shakey's and all the property behind that. So this is where we have opportunities, as Spencer briefly discussed, to take a look at what else we can do to fully develop this site. One thing that we have told developers as they're looking at maybe expanding residential in the back is that the frontage of Rosecrans, it is a priority for us to have commercial development, to bring amenities and things that are not in North Gardena to Rosecrans. So I've had several discussions with our community development folks. We are all in agreement of what the proposed future of this site looks like, and commercial on the front side is definitely a priority. We have a very similar example on Artesia, where we have wrapped around residential by commercial pads. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the Rascals and Pita 360 and the Boba Place and Aloha Pizza. That's a good example of what we can do here on Rosecrans. The developer here also has another plan in the works, so we're really hopeful that they come to fruition on this second project. I know this is not specifically related to this, but I wanted to inform the council this is the same developer that's interested in this problem. And that's the issue of our old hospital on Marine Avenue. Really a blighted place for a long, long time, and I know all the council have received community complaints. But this is the project area that they're looking at. The old hospital, the parking lot across the street, the inline shopping center. There is a ugly ducky pool in the middle, and hopefully that will come to the table, and then the other vacant land that moves forward. You're all probably familiar as you drive down there. Once again, either vacant land, underutilized commercial properties, and a complete eyesore from the hospital. So the future will hold something like this, which is a nice residential development, which will meet all our development standards and comply with all applicable zoning regulations. So we're hopeful that this project is successful for this developer, and we'll move on to take care of another blighted area in our community. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the council at this time? Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, in regards to discussions with the developer, have the discussions got to the point where we talk about affordable housing, fair market housing, or we haven't gotten that far yet?
We haven't gotten that far. These are market rate units here. You know, if they wanted to apply for some type of density bonus, they could always look at it, maybe at their next development for, you know, low-income housing. But most of it has been market rate because the markets are so strong right now in Gardena.
Thank you.
Okay, does any other member of the council have anything else to say? Okay, I personally think this is a great project here. I think this is the beginning steps of us really starting to revitalize Rosecrans, and knowing that a project like this coming in will only attract more developers there as well as more commercial, which is something the community has been asking for a long time now. So I think this is going to be a win-win for us overall, not only on Rosecrans, but also on Marine as well, because these are some really nice homes here that we definitely know will attract people from like SpaceX and so on, which in turn will need to build even more commercial development to satisfy new rooftops. So with that, does any member of the council like to call for review? If not, we're just going to receive and file this particular item because it seems like a good project. Okay, so we're going to receive and file this.
Madam Mayor, one other question.
Go ahead.
In regards to the property or the development that's going to be on Rosecrans and Van Ness, have we had discussions with those neighbors that are directly south of that in regards to the elevations?
Yes, we've had several community meetings. Most of the concerns were actually traffic related on the entrance and exit. The developer has a significant buffer from the south to where the residents actually begin, so that provided a nice natural buffer. That's where the driveways are going to be in parking. So these homes are not adjacent to that property line. So it worked out well for this project.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're receiving and filing that item there. Next, we're going to move on to oral communications. It looks like we have 7 people who would like to speak tonight. First one is Bridget Moore, and after that will be Shirley McCarthy. I want to remind everyone that you do have 3 minutes to speak. When the yellow light comes on here, come on forward, that will alert you that your 2 minutes are up. And when the red light comes on, your 3 minutes will be up at that time. So we ask that you please, at that point, just kind of wrap it up. So Ms. Moore, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mayor Serta and the City Council. I come before you as a resident of Gardena, and I come before you with great humility and concern about the community of Gardena, the north side of Gardena, basically from Rosecrans all the way back to El Segundo. And I have been in Gardena as a resident since 1978, concerned resident. A resident that walks my neighborhood, walks my dog, picks up trash off the streets, wear a glove. My son gets very upset about that. However, our neighborhood, our shopping centers, I have taken pictures over the last 6 months. All of the trash cans just about on Rosecrans are overflowing on a consistent basis, almost weekly. They're overflowing this evening. They were overflowing last week, the week before. These trash cans are filled up. People are putting trash next to the trash cans on the ground. They stay filled up. The sidewalks where we walk to shop are really filthy. They are really filthy. I take a glove, and if I'm walking, I will pick up the trash and I will put it in the trash cans. Not only that, the schools. Perchie Elementary School on north side of Gardena, there's no green grass there. But when you come on the other side of Rosecrans, the two elementary schools for the students have green grass, roses in the front, murals. At Perchie, there's no murals. There's no colors. Inside the gates, some of the gates, there's weeds growing up in the concrete in their schools. No grass, none. Nothing green, nothing colorful. And so my goal is to ask our city, let's have a clean initiative. The gutters and the streets where these children go to school on Perchie, I pick up 4 children a day, are filthy, full of leaves, full of debris. The same thing if you go down Van Ness, sometime the street cleaners come, sometime they don't. Sometimes the same thing on Perchie when you're near the businesses, sometime they come, sometime they don't. I think we need a clean initiative in Gardena. I really believe Gardena should be the cleanest city around, not part of it, but all of it. And so with great humility, I want to say thank you. I want to leave these pictures. And again, I'm just humbly grateful.
Ms. Moore, actually, if you could hand those pictures to our Code Enforcement Director, Stephanie, I believe, who's in the back, maybe she can assist you with some of those items as well that you'd like to report. She can step to the outside with you. And in regards to the library, the school, we'll refer that information with our city manager over to LAUSD because we're not in charge of that. And then lastly, Stephanie can probably also let you about our annual cleanup day that we've had for many years. And maybe you and some of the residents could participate in that if
I
you'd
would
like
be
to.
honored to. I don't
Thank
walk
you.
around with the glove. I
Okay.
don't talk without being a worker myself.
Okay.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And Ms. McCarthy, you're next.
Good evening to the mayor and to the city council. I'm Shirley McCarty, a former retired school teacher from the Los Angeles Unified School District. I've taught at Gardena High School and Henry Clay Junior High School at that time for over 32 years. I raised 2 children here in the city of Gardena since 1975. My concern has already been, some of it, been read by our city manager here, but I'll go on to say what I have to say. Gardena is a cosmopolitan of diverse culture and not an anthropolis of 2 territories, North and South Gardena, as some are inclined to believe. We're a metropolitan city with boundaries that extend north, east, south, and west to encompass the city borderlines. Our demographics are of diverse ethnicities that make up our neighborhoods and our communities. With that being said, the residents here reside in an area which is mostly identified as North Gardena, north of Redondo Beach Boulevard, boundaries of El Segundo, are concerned about planning, rebuilding projects, and renewal projects and redevelopment projects being created and brought to this area or within these boundaries. As we look at the growth of the area that is identified as South Gardena, that borders south of Redondo Beach Boulevard, we find a blooming operation of construction, planning, rebuilding projects, redevelopment projects up and down Western, Normandy, and Artesia Boulevard. The concern of the homeowners in the identified north area of Gardena are every community should have commodities necessary for the citizens in the neighborhood. Grade A and upscale accommodation should be available in the community, such as change food stores and restaurants. Quality service should be provided for cleanup of trash, graffiti, curbside pickup, cleanup. Planning outlined to bring about an end to clearing nuisance vacant lots, deteriorating empty business facilities in our area. Rally to bring in more stable, upgraded businesses to our area that would provide opportunities for the community to become involved in. Less storage facilities. Revitalize the corridor of El Segundo and Redondo Beach and El Segundo Rosecrans Avenue. Help business to apply for grants to improve their properties. What happened to the Rosecrans Avenue projects? You told us that. We are a city. We want to work together to help build Gardena and make Gardena a beautiful city. We want to be a part of that. And we want you to realize that we at North Gardena want to be a part of making this city a better city. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a copy of this for the mayor.
Okay, I have the copy here. Just reading. I
Okay.
think we all have it, but thank you very much
All
for
right.
that.
Thank you.
Next, we have Zaina Harvey, and after that is Jorge Guadique.
My name is Zaina Harvey, and I reside at 13124 Daphne Avenue in Gardena. Honorable Mayor and members of the council, I stand before you today as a citizen of the Holly Park community. My parents, Robert and Rosemary Spates, moved to that community over 40 years ago to provide a better way of life for their children. We arrived in this community, which I returned to in 2009 as a homeowner myself. And it was much different than when we arrived 40 years ago. No longer was there a neighborhood full-service bank, a drugstore, shops, or family restaurants. You get the picture of what I'm saying. My father was a big proponent of working, eating, shopping, and even going to the movies here in Gardena. He wouldn't allow us to go anywhere else, but we were going to recycle those dollars here in Gardena. And so those of you that know my father, they called him Bob, Robert, or Mr. Spates. He was a part of the Planning Commission at one point here in Gardena, and he believed in recycling those dollars here. If he were here today, he would be saddened by how far removed the business area that borders from Van Ness, Rosecrans, Crenshaw, and El Segundo has become. While the Artesia and Redondo Beach corridors are being improved, our community lies in waste. It is great that other communities are being improved, but my concern is that we are being left behind. While other communities have multiple name brands, markets, banks, drugstores, etc., eateries, we have a broken down ATM, a smelly neighborhood market, and a deserted bank that serves as a dumping ground. The only thing that Planning Committee thinks we need are storage buildings and Starbucks. How long will this continue? I am so glad to hear that there is a plan for North Gardena, but it has been long coming. Members of our community, my father, Kai Parker, Stephen Bradford, Rachel Johnson, have worked tirelessly for this community, and I was really disappointed when I walked in this room and I did not see them on the wall. I did not see the council members of Stephen Bradford or Rachel on those walls. So what I say to you today is that I'm looking forward to what you have planned for this community, because I feel that no community should be left behind. When you talk about growing the city and economic development, there should be opportunities for all. And so we don't want to feel like the stepchildren of Gardena, and I know you don't want us to feel that way. So we ask that you do something about it, and we'd like to know when that's going to happen. We do see some things happening, but we'd like to know what the plans are actually going to be. So I appreciate you all listening, and Mayor Serta, we know you live in our community, and we know that you don't want to live in a community that looks like that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. City Manager, would you like to say something?
Yeah, Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, and I just wanted to just address one part here. Is, during our last study session, the City Council had a presentation about economic development and the future of Gardena. And the Rosecrans corridor, we have talked about it and talked about it and talked about it for a long time. I mean, we did some stuff to the streets, which was great. But the economic development plan for North Gardena is a priority to the city. And you're right, it's enough time of talking, it's some time for action and things to come to fruition. As we presented to the City Council, it's about creating the right mix up there so that we can get the types of businesses we need. When we look at developers, the things we talk about are all the things that you mentioned: food stores, a bank, there's not even a pharmacy up there, all those things. It is right on the top of the radar for all of our council, and we hear you, and we will be doing something and make a change. That's the reason we just hired our economic development manager who knows the priorities, and we want to bring some things to North Gardena.
Generally, I say no, but hold it to remarks. Next is Jorge Guadique, and then after that is Rachel Johnson.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council, staff, all those in attendance, and all those joining us through the internet. My name is Jorge Guadique. I do work with the Asian American Drug Abuse Program, ADAP, and a member of the Gardena Drug and Alcohol Abuse Prevention Task Force, GDAP. I would like to invite the council and the community members to an event that GDAP is hosting tomorrow at the Nakaoka Center. It's a day in the life educational event in which we look at access, exposure, and consequences of drug abuse and drug use for our teens within the city. Following that, I would like to invite the council to this Friday. We are having the scholarship awards for the high school task force, the youth advocates with which they work with Gardena and they work on prevention within the city. We would be honored to have you. That is at 6 p.m. The event tomorrow also starts at 6 p.m. Sorry about that. One last thing. I would just like to mention that it was about 10 years ago that I first spoke in front of City Council, in front of the Gardena City Council. I was speaking on the tobacco retail licensing law, which improved the protection of youth from cigarettes, from tobacco. Gardena was one of the first cities to adopt that law into the city, but as mentioned, that was 10 years ago. With the evolution of tobacco products, vape pens, different forms of flavored tobacco, there are some things that could be added. I know Gardena has included vaping under the definition of smoking, but there are other ways that the TRL can be amendment to further protect our youth and our community as a whole. I am part of a coalition that works with LA County Tobacco Prevention and Control. Can be reached at my email, which is on the paper, jguandique@adapinc.org. And just want to share an example that San Francisco actually passed a complete flavor ban of all flavored tobacco products. So that passed within the last month. That's just one example, but if you'd like to contact myself and community members that I've been working with on amending the TRL, please feel free to contact me at any time so we can start this discussion, seeing how we can further protect the youth and the community members of Gardena. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Rachel Johnson, and after that is Henry Washington.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council and City staff. My name is Rachel Johnson, and my address is of public record. I'm here this evening as the president of the Holly Park Community Association. I'm here this evening to present and discuss with you a list of concerns that were expressed by members of the Holly Park community during our June 7, 2018 monthly association meeting. And I apologize for being redundant, but there are some other issues of concern that I would like to bring to your attention. Now, the first concern is regarding the newly established parking districts in the Holly Park area. Please keep in mind that these complaints were registered with Lieutenant Pendergrass, but community members felt that you need to know also. We do feel that the districts may be necessary in some areas of North Gardena. One block doesn't want it at all, but that I'm sure will come to your attention later. But however, not the 24-hour per day, 7 days per week zones. Residents feel that this was done to appease a very small segment of the community, not for the benefit of the entire community as a whole, and to the detriment of Raleigh Park patrons. There was no transparency with the decision to change to 24/7, and this was done in direct contradiction to what the community expressed at the public meeting that was held regarding this issue. Next, we feel that the area of North Rosecrans is being neglected by our elected officials, and it's good to hear that there is a plan in the works, and this is what we're asking for. Though there was a lot of rhetoric during election time about the corridor, we see now that there is some action. There is some action, and this is what we want. We want to see action and plans regarding uplifting our area. Now, the north corner of Rosecrans and Van Ness, the U-Haul property, the corner of Perchie and Rosecrans, the Chase Bank property, the corner of Watkins and Rosecrans, the ditch property, the area just south of Rosecrans and Van Ness, the property directly behind the Church's Chicken. And thank you, Mr. City Manager, for sharing plans for this area tonight. This is what we're asking for. the corner of El Segundo and Western, the old gas station, which is outside of the Rosecrans corridor, but still in North Gardena. All of these properties are blighted with cracked pavement, overgrown weeds, boulders, dilapidated abandoned buildings, trash, debris strewn across the lots. And with the abandoned restaurant at the U-Haul property, this has now become a sleeping ground for homeless individuals. We are also concerned with the upkeep of the alleys and the responsiveness to complaints about this, along with the upkeep of the Welcome to Gardena monument that had knee-high weeds growing in it for at least 3 months before it was cleaned up. This would not have been allowed at any other monument within the city. Now, we continue to champion the retail developments on Redondo Beach Boulevard and Artesia. The residents of North Gardena are wondering when our city leaders will begin developing a specific plan for Rosecrans. And again, today it's good to hear that that is in the works. We know that some of these problems lie at the feet of the property owners. However, we want to know what our city leaders are doing to remediate some of these problems. While we continue to wait for a national chain grocery store, drugstore, family eateries, and now a bank, because ATMs that often, I'll wrap it up in just a moment.
Just 10
they
more
don't
seconds
work.
to wrap it up.
But okay, I'll continue to wrap it up.
10 seconds, wrap it up.
Our September 6th association meeting, we invite you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, City Manager, and now our Economic Development Manager, Mr. Dela Cruz. We invite you.
Okay.
We want you to come and share
Thank
your
you.
plan
Ms. Johnson,
for,
thank you.
the,
Thank
for the
you.
city.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you
Just as
very
long
much.
as anyone else who gets the buzz, you cut them off also.
Thank you. It's at
Thank
my
you.
discretion. Thank you. Next, we have Janet McCarthy.
Different person. Jeanette McCambry?
McCambry, my apology.
Yeah.
McCambry.
Been called a lot of things, I think.
My apology.
I'm here regarding the Jazz Festival. And what I'm concerned about is, of course, the increase of some of the prices of the place. And it appears that we give away more tickets than we sell for VIP. Do you know that does anybody here knows what the profit for the jazz show is? We profited a great $4,525. That's all. We gave away 14,850 tickets to what they call as, these are, people who donate things. We donate more than, they're not giving us anything. The tickets have gone up, and I talked to Steve. Steve was not aware that the tickets for VIP was $100, and it's just not happening. I suggest that we need a committee to run the jazz program every year. There is not a committee. You do have employees here, but for suggestions, it just isn't there. How do you go with only $4,000? I did request a public records on the billing of the money that was spent and how it was spent. There's nothing on here regarding the concessions. How do you run I'm sure most of you have been to the jazz show, and it's just tons of people there. People who are willing to pay whatever price we do, and I have too. But I just don't think it's fair that we only profit $4,000. That was for 2017. Can you believe we only profited $4,525? That's an insult for that type of program. So something is wrong that we give the one group free tickets and we go in the hole almost. So something has to be done. I understand you don't have much of people working on the Jazz Festival, and I think we should have nothing less than 10 people, and I think they ought to be employees, of course, and should be volunteers from the community. So my suggestion is that for next year, I'm sure this year is going to be worse. I asked them, you got chairs, and I said, what kind of chairs do you have? They said, oh, we don't know. We haven't got them yet. What do you mean you don't know? You don't have the chairs yet? I know I'm buzzed out, but.
Thank you, Ms. McCarthy.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and wrap it up real quick.
Well, I'd like to give each one of you copies of the, I asked the treasurer of the city to give me a breakdown of of how it was spent.
Ms.
And-
McCarthy, we'll follow back up with you at a later time. All this information is going to our city manager, and as a directive, we'll make sure that you find out what that
Very
is.
good.
We need to move on to our next item.
We need volunteers.
Ms. McCarthy, thank you, Ms. McCarthy. We're going to move on to item number 8A1. Mr. City Manager?
Called it by the wrong name again.
Oh, did I? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Washington. Give me one sec.
I only want to take a few minutes, 2 exactly. Okay, I wanted to share this right here with the city council. All this stuff is things that's grown in the garden up at Perry Middle School, right up there on the corner with the green fence around it. And like, look at that. That's arugula. For those of you that like arugula, I got that. I got some yellow squash. I got some broccoli. I got, I'm messing up for you, red tomatoes, curly kale. This is for you all. And I would like to build some type of relationship with the city of Gardena, because I found and it's proven that that garden is helping not only myself and other students in Gardena. There are certain people that can come and pick up and get food from the garden. That has to be worked out through the district, stuff like that, and hopefully with the city of Gardena. What I need from you all is a picture of the garden from the cameras off of Normandy and 160th, because I want to promote what's going on in that garden. It's a good thing going on in that garden. A lot of people don't know it. A lot of people don't see it simply because it's blocked in. And the cameras being there, that's an excellent thing, because we can see and other people can see. But I need that to help promote this garden. Fruit trees, north, south, east, west, on the corners, on the borders of the fence. I can get you a list, everything from pomegranate, cherry moya, peaches, apples, apricots, you name it. These things that we growing out here. Korean melon. Somebody gave me a Korean melon, one of the growers the other day. I've never seen anything like that. But the thing, like they have V8 juice, we can produce V28. I mean, I'm beginning to eat this stuff. You could probably smell this arugula. Look. Now, check this out. Just like I'm willing to share this out with you all, guess what? We can share it with a lot of people. It's going on. I got some good volunteers that are in their 70s. I would love to be able to have some veterans probably come around. We need to work this stuff out, because not only will you continue to build a garden, that's 2 acres plus right there that people are not using, that we could use not only to upgrade the food quality we got going, and I guarantee you, we can do this over on the north side. All right? We'll work with the...
Mr. Henry, if you could just direct your comments at the council, not at the audience. Thank you.
I wasn't trying to offend anyone.
Okay, no,
I'm just
okay.
this is the way I am. You know, I'm like this because I believe in what I do. And like this says, no more drama. And on the back, it says, do right and making adjustments. This is what we always have to do, every day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Don't forget your vegetables.
I can give this to a family. Or whatever y'all want to do.
Leave it there, we'll handle it.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Yeah, we'll make sure you get that back, sir. Okay, next we're going to move on to item number 8A1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A1 is a public hearing for the City of Gardina's budget for fiscal year 2018 and 19 and 19 and 20. There are 3 items related to this agenda item. There's resolution number 6326, which is adoption of the City of Gardina's 2-year budget for fiscal year 2018-19, 19-20. The second is resolution number 6329, establishing the appropriation limits for fiscal year 2018 and 19, which is also known as a GAN limit. And finally, resolution number 6325, which is authorizing the filing of a claim with the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transit Authority for local transportation funds. I will be doing a short version of the budget presentation for the City Council and the community. Before I begin, I just want to give a special thanks to Mr. Clint Osorio, Mr. Ray Beeman, all of the department heads, all of the department budget coordinators, the city labor groups, everyone who helped put these 2-year budget together. I just want to especially recognize all the folks in finance. I'm just going to ask for a minute for all of you to stand in the back. They do a lot of hard work. Ray and Clint get a lot of the attention, but these are the men and women that really do all the hard work crunching the numbers. So this is our mission and vision statement. I don't want to go too much in this. You've seen this plenty of times, but something certainly that we keep focused as we develop our budgets. This is our guiding principles that help us decide where we put money and why. So our current organizational structure, this is a slight change from the first presentation. The difference is that we added the Administrative Services Department. The previous organization had the elected administration offices and administrative services, but this time we added admin services at special group. That's the way it's actually been functioning for some time, as we appointed Clint Osorio as Administrative Services Director. So the process is pretty straightforward. It's the adoption of 2 budgets for fiscal year 18-19, 19-20. But it's really essentially 2-year budgets, but it's really 1 budget each year. Generally speaking, the City Council has a mid-year budget review. In this case, since we have 2 budgets, it will be 2 of those. Or if we need additional changes that are unforeseen. Traditionally, that has not happened, and we've been able to do everything during our mid-year budget review. As part of the process, the Finance Committee, which Mayor Serta and Councilman Cascani are members of, help shape and form the direction of the budget before it's presented to the City Council. I do want to highlight this because this year we made some significant changes. Not only did we present the budget early, we had things that we've never done before, such as a community presentation for our budget, which I think was very well received by our community, and we'll continue to do that. The budget was introduced to the City Council for review on the 22nd, and then as we all recall, on June 7th, we had a special study session for the budget where we had a deeper dive for the elected officials on that, and then finally today is the big day to hopefully ratify and approve our budget. So this is a big highlight of how much money we're taking in and how much we're spending. You've heard me say this several times in these presentations. The margins are pretty thin from how much revenue we have and how much we are expected to spend. That's because our card club revenue has significantly been reduced. This year, we're trying to balance a budget with essentially $2 million less of casino revenue. And being good stewards and being honest about how we're going to do moving forward, we also had to take out $2 million in the next 2 fiscal years, essentially, to ensure that we're not over-predicting our card club revenue and then having to find ourselves in the same spot we are now. That being said, even with all of that, we managed to show a surplus of revenue over expenditures. Although the margin's thin, it's a truly structured budget Nothing here is anything that I don't think we can certainly obtain. And as I mentioned in the past, there's several different ways that we can do this. We can take the best case scenario, the rosy picture, and use that number. We can take the other opposite extreme and take a very low ball number, or take the middle of the road. And Gardena has traditionally taken a conservative approach and gone the middle of the road or less. So essentially those are projections that we can meet, not that we can just make up. Just a proposed budget. This is of all funds, which includes transportation and all our special revenue funds. It's $140 million in revenues, and expenditures $143 million. Now, the question is, why are you spending more? It's not really that. It's the timing. It's a purchasing of large scale, let's say for buses, for transportation, or when we spend some of our Measure R, gas tax money, et cetera. It's all about timing and the capital improvements. Have no doubt that our budget is structurally balanced. What we're taking in, we're not spending more. This is all funds. As you noticed the previous slide, that was just the general fund, and you saw that we had a surplus of both years. The same thing for the next fiscal year, 2019 and 20. As you see now, that number on expenditures over revenues has dropped a little bit. Once again, the same rules apply there. It's a timing on expending funds for transportation and other special funds is the vast majority of those, the difference there. But we are structurally balanced. This is something that we're always really proud of here in Gardena. You've seen the increases of our general fund balance. 9.3 million in 2011, and before that, if you go farther back, it was a negative and in the red, and now we're really happy to have about $24 million in reserve. So for a city of our size and our general fund budget, we're talking about 44% of our general fund budget in reserve. That's amazing for a city our size, and continues to show our financial strength moving forward. Same thing we've seen year over year. What are our top tax producing entities? One, sales and use tax being number one, and that continues to be the case. Of sales tax, the number one producer of sales tax is food in Gardena. We have a reputation now of being a place that, sort of a foodie community. We're continuing to capitalize on that, but that one section of sales tax continues to be an area of growth. The one disappointing thing is the reduction of card club revenue. At one time, those numbers were really close, card club revenue and sales tax. As I mentioned to the City Council in several of the presentations and the community, our goal is to reduce our reliance on card club revenue. At one point, it was 18% of our general fund revenue. In this budget, it represents about 14%. My goal is to make it 10 or less, which is a big, hefty goal. So how are we going to do that? Spencer's got a lot of hard work to do. We have to replace our current reliance with other new businesses that produce sales tax. One of the new ventures that we're going to do is on an agenda item before you, and you'll see what our plan is to ensure that we can lower that dependency. Property taxes continue to go up. That's because the sales of all of our new construction as well as resales of current property. Gardena housing is very hot. Just to give you an example, I just went on the website of the KB Homes project on Normandy and 145th, and they had some of the units there for $680,000 for townhouses. That's pretty incredible, because I thought they probably based the estimate of selling those properties between probably the mid 500s. So good news for Gardena. Motor vehicle in lieu continues to grow. Some of that is because of SB1. We've seen an increase in that. I realize that the initiative just was approved to put that on the ballot to do a recall, but while it's here, we're certainly going to take advantage of that and use it all we can, especially for capital improvements. And then lastly, our utility users tax remains fairly flat, but I think we're going to see ongoing reductions on that. That's because of how the cable and telecom industry is bundling services, which unfortunately makes us lose some of the utility users tax. Also, conservation efforts have had an impact. The increased use of solar, which is a good thing for our environment, reduction in water use, et cetera, has caused that to start to show a downward trend. The positive side, it's probably a better thing for our environment. So on expenditure side, on the general fund, we estimate we're going to spend $58,848,000. That's about a 5.78% increase from the previous year, plus which is about a $3.2 million increase. That being said, we balanced the budget with $2 million less, which shows a lot of due diligence by our staff here in finding unique and creative ways to ensure that we hold the line. At the same time, we balance. The vast majority of the expenditures is from the police, $27.73 million. The next is public safety in terms of fire and public safety dispatching. And you can see reflects the rest of the organization in terms of expenditures. Same thing for fiscal year 1920. The police continue to be the largest section, and then public safety and fire is the next. The percentages go up a little bit, but they pretty much pretty much stay consistent with the previous years, as you can see here. This budget does not go up as much as the previous year. It only goes up 3.55%, which is about 2.1 million, which is essentially a little over $1 million less than the previous year. There's a lot of discussion about how, what kind of debt situation we are. We're very fortunate in Gardena. Our total debt obligation, as it stands right now, is very low compared to our general fund budget, which is only about 3%. The average in the South Bay is 9%. All of you recall that we recently did a direct lease bond placement for our 2017 bonds. That's the only one that we had an opportunity to restructure or pay down. The rest of them we can't, because if we did, we'd probably pay some of that down. It's estimated that from $21 million in total outstanding debt now, and by the end of this 2-year cycle, we'll be at 19.3. You saw from our general fund reserve, we could probably pay it all off, but it doesn't make any sense to do that, because not only do we have to pay the principal on the bond, we'll also have to pay all the accrued interest that the bondholders are expecting. So although we've looked at this so many different ways, it's just better to continue down this path. G-Trans is once again an enterprise fund. It's a business within the city. They continue to have revenue and expenditures that are both in line. They have a lot of control of setting their revenue and expenditures based on funding from a number of sources. And they have a lot of exciting things coming up, but they are, as you see, structurally balanced moving forward. There's going to be a lot of change in this industry in the next several years, so we're all going to be excited what the expectation and what transit looks like for us in the next 5 and 10 years. And I know that Ernie Crespo and his staff are staying on top of the developments to make sure that we're competitive in the marketplace. For example, the stadium that's being built to the north of us is how can we develop special transit routes to develop and serve that stadium, because there's not enough parking. So how G-Trans plays a role in that may help their operating expenses by generating money outside the normal fare box collection on normal routes. Same thing for the next fiscal year in 2019-20. Once again, they're structurally balanced to the T, so there's no issues with G-Trans and their proposed enterprise fund budget. We've talked a little bit about this before. The next slide will show a more dramatic thing. This is the contribution rates for PERS. Our city has been, I think, on the leading edge of dealing with our PERS-related issues. Our current non-safety employees pay 7% of their contributions towards PERS. Many cities still have employees that are paying 0. So we already have our employees paying 7. I am deliberating how we can take that number to 9. Certainly that would be something we would negotiate with the other unions, because we've already negotiated a real good agreement for the city on the next slide, which is the safety side. As you see, we have taken our safety members from 9% to 12%, which is among the highest in the South Bay, if not the highest. And then our PEPRA employees will be paying 15.25% of their PERS. That will be the highest. So we're taking a forward-looking approach of dealing with pension costs by having a better cost-sharing agreement with the employees. And I think long-term that'll serve us well. Going from the 9 to 12%, we estimate will be saving between $350,000 and $400,000 per year on city costs related to PERS, which is great. We do have some challenges. You know, anything can happen. It could be a major shift in the economy. You know, what these tariffs do for businesses, all these different things could affect us, and we have, you know, somewhat limited impact on that. We do have aging infrastructure, and we talked about that, and investing in not only our facilities here, but our parks, and making sure that we have the best of everywhere in our city. And that's one of the focus areas, as we discussed in our study session, is really taking a look at how we can improve the livability in the community, because it's important. We have a good reserve, and it doesn't look like we have a good reserve if things around the city aren't kept and maintained to the highest standard proper they could possibly be. And our community deserves that. They deserve parks and amenities that are good and are safe and are used frequently. You never know what's going to happen with state or local measures like Measure H. They took about $2 million for us. We may get around $200,000. So looking at how we can protect ourselves from that happening again. Many cities are doing the tax increment, so that doesn't happen to them. And we're working closely to develop a strategy to deal with that. There's a lot of opportunities, though, and that's thriving businesses. As Spencer mentions, a lot of people want to invest in Gardena. We have a great workforce that's dedicated. We have very little turnover. People work in Gardena stay here a long time. You know, lucky lady, hopefully we'll get a hotel there, or at least some substantial development there that will spur more development along Rosecrans. Anything that we can do to have people invest money just stems other people to look at that area and say, why are they here? Oh, that's a good idea. Let's invest money here. So it is a process. We will come up with a plan, and we will work towards making that plan come to fruition. And like I said, we have long-term stability and a long history of being fiscally accountable. With that, I'll take any questions from the City Council.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. It was very good. Any members of the council have any questions at this time? And actually, one second here. This is a public hearing, so we do need to open the public hearing at this time. And actually, before I take any questions from the council, Madam City Clerk, do we have any members of the audience that requested to speak at this time?
No, we do not.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Henderson.
I know. I'm glad to be confused with a handsome man such as yourself. All right. And thank you, Mr. City Manager, for the presentation. Actually, my question, you answered it. I was going to respond to G-Trans with the ridership declining and low car loans and Uber and different things like that to figure out how we would supplement those potential losses moving forward. So you actually adequately answered that in regards to possibilities of adjusting routes to support folks going to either StubHub or the Inglewood Stadium. So I want to say thank you for being entrepreneurial enough to even think something like that.
Well, Councilman Anderson, I can't take credit for that, but I know that you know, Mr. Crespo is doing a lot to take a look at what the future holds. Fare box collection is only a small part of the funding for their operation, so they have to be innovative, and we'll certainly do that, just like they're being innovative on their bus technologies. So,
are there any other questions or comments at this time? If not, before we close this hearing, I'd just like to say thank the city manager and the entire staff for putting this presentation together, all the department heads as well. I know it takes a lot to put this presentation together, along with the budget. So thank you for all of your contributions to that. This was very well done here. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and close the hearing, and I'm going to ask for council member to make a motion to approve resolution number 6326. We're going to take all three of these at once. Resolution number 6326, resolution number 6329, and also resolution number 6325. If I could get a motion for that.
Madam Mayor, I had one question on resolution 6329.
Go ahead.
Mr. City Manager, in regards to that, I was trying to read that and understand that in regards to the appropriations limit. So it's 109,000 and the subject of 58K is the limit, but we'll have excess, we'll be in excess of 51K in regards to funding available. Could you explain that to me a little bit more, please?
So it's essentially saying this is how much we could possibly spend based on that formula that's included in the agenda item, and what we're actually going to spend, and it's actually 51 million that we're under what we could spend based on the formula.
Thank you. That was it.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve those three resolutions?
So moved.
Is there a second? Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Kaskanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilman Kaskanian,
Yes.
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8A2. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item number 8A2 is authorization to bind excess insurance coverage policies for fiscal year 2018-19. The City of Gardena is self-insured for general liability and workman's comp insurance and obtains excess insurance coverage for extraordinary exposure for both, in addition to commercial property, contractors, equipment insurance, and a crime bond for employees. So this year, we took a different approach in looking at insurance. For many years, we have been with a broker that has been providing us services in terms of insurance. But looking at different options, looking at things from a different lens, we decided early on that we wanted to go out to the marketplace and do something different. So what I have in front of you is a chart that reflects the summary of the quotes that we received from the different coverages. And what I want to draw your attention to is the last box on the right hand. That represents $781,000 less that we are going to spend this year on insurance than we did the previous year. And that's a result of changing the way we conduct business and moving from standalone private insurance to a pooled a system. And this year, we selected the California State Association of Counties Excess Insurance Authority, or CSAC-EIA. The quote that they received was far the best and met all the requirements for the city. In addition to that, we were able to negotiate, as many of you know, last year we had to increase our SIR, self-insured retention, to $1 million. We were actually able to lower that to $750,000. So as a result, this net savings is not only is it cheaper, it's better, because the excess liability for the city, we had $10 million policy and then another $10 million policy. This year we're getting $25 million. So we're getting actually additionally $5 million for liability coverage. So overall, you can see as reflected by that chart. I just want to thank once again Clint Osorio and his staff for working diligently with me and doing this. This is a significant impact. This is not a little bit of money. We're talking about a savings of $781,000 on insurance. I'm glad we took a look at this from a different perspective. The next slide kind of shows a summary of the quotes. The third one, the ICRMA, they had a partial quote. They really didn't quote it. In fact, the only thing they quoted was city liability and the workman's comp. The rest they didn't quote, and even that quote was $1,065,000. On the far left, that's what the quote is for the current way we would have marketed it, which is $2,104,000, and the middle represents what we ended up with, which is $1,341,000. So overall, it is something I think we're all very proud of that we can bring. Not often do we bring something to you and say we saved a lot of money, especially in today's day. Usually everything goes up, and not only did we save money, we are getting better insurance. So what is required is to approve this agenda item, to authorize the city manager to conduct all of the transactions and execute all the required documents to bind us for insurance. I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions of the city manager at this time? Councilmember Kaskanian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, just for clarification, so we do have this, we're still self-insured, right?
So the city's self-insured up to a point. So for example, in liability, we're technically self-insured for the first, in this case, $750,000. The current policy is $1 million. So that's the part that we're self-insured. This is excess insurance above that.
Additional.
Yeah.
Additional. So what will be to cap it with the additional above the 750? We have an additional coverage on?
we're going from $20 million to $25 million in liability, let's say, for that.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So this chart here kind of shows the coverages for all the different options, because it's not just liability insurance. There's a lot of different things that come with this insurance. It'd be easy if it was just that, but it certainly is not. We have liability for the city. We have liability for G-Trans. We have excess workers' comp insurance. We have commercial property, which also includes G-Trans, contractor equipment. We have to have insurance for sexual misconduct, a crime bond, excess liability for the G-Trans, and of course automobile and physical damage. So there's a lot of different layers to our insurance portfolio.
Are there any other questions or comments at this time? If not, can I get a motion to authorize the? No, not at this time.
So
You
moved.
would have had. Well, give me one sec. If there's in the future, if anybody from the audience would like to speak on it, you would have to fill out one of the forms that say that you would like to speak. Well, ma'am, you would have to fill out the form to speak on this particular item if you have any questions or comments. So just in the future, so it's too late at this point, but usually before every council meeting starts, any item that you see on the agenda you would like to speak on, fill out a form for it. And at that time you can. I'm sorry. Can I get a motion to authorize the city manager to purchase and bind excess insurance coverage? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Councilmember Kaskanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaskanian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
And Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8A3. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item number 8A3 is resolution number 6324, acknowledging the receipt and filing of the annual statement of investment policy for fiscal year 2018-19. The city completed a comprehensive update of its investment portfolio, ensuring compliance with state and federal statutes while maintaining and maximizing interest and minimizing risk. The purpose of the investment policy is to identify various policies and procedures that will foster a prudent and systematic investment program designed to seek the city objective safety, liquidity, and return on investment through a diversified investment portfolio. The policy also serves to organize and formalize the city's investment-related activities. What is required is to adopt resolution number 6324.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6324?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaskanian.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8A4. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A4 is City Council approval for the costs associated with the INSB JPA, which is an interoperable network of the South Bay, the membership assessment for fiscal year 2018 and 19. Per Resolution 6227, authorizing a joint powers agreement to establish a joint powers agency to create a wide area interoperable public safety communications network, the city entered into this agreement and created the INSB. As part of the agreement, and once INSB became operational, the owning members of the South Bay Regional Public Communications Authority, which does our public safety dispatch, would have any costs associated with INSB is included as part of his annual assessment authority. The annual assessment is subject to approval by the council during each budget cycle. The amount of impact to the general fund is $40,599. The formula used to generate our assessment is in the attachment provided by the City of Torrance, which is based on a variety of different data points. The INSB will provide interoperable communications to every city in the South Bay, seamless communication throughout Los Angeles County. So a police car driving from Gardena to Pomona, will never lose reception, and will be like he's just driving around Gardena. So it's a significant advancement. In addition, the system is completely digital and encrypted, which provides another level of security so people who have those scanners can't just listen to what the police are doing. Because many criminals are doing that. They'll pick up scanners and they'll be able to hear and know when the police are coming. So not only is this a good thing for interoperability, it's a good thing for safety and security.
Okay, are there any questions or comments at this time? No? If not, can I get a motion to approve fiscal year 2018-2019 INSB JPA cost?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilman Henderson.
Can I say C?
Just yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, you said yes. C. Okay, thank you.
We look alike.
I didn't get it until now.
Yes.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaskanian.
Yes.
And Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 8AB. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, agenda item 8A5 is ordinance number 1795, placing the deputy city clerk and the deputy city treasurer under the authority of the city manager, and which was introduced by Mayor Serta on May 22nd, 2018. Ordinance number 1795 will amend section 2.12060B of the Gardena Municipal Code regarding the city manager's duties and responsibilities. A review of the records identified 2 non-elected classifications that were not under the direction of the city manager. Currently, the deputy city treasurer and the deputy city clerk are appointed by elected officials and serve at the pleasure of the official. The change would provide the city manager the ability to have direct oversight of those 2 full-time positions. The modification is necessary to bring those positions in line with other classifications and to align the positions with the city's updated personnel rules and regulations. Following the approval of the amendment to the municipal code, the personnel rules and management resolution will be revised to reflect the code amendment. This will not prevent in any way, shape, or form from the elected official, the treasurer, and the city clerk to select their deputies and to provide their direction and vision for what they're doing for their departments. It is to bring them in line with the rest of the employees that are unclassified and unrepresented and confidential employees. The city clerk and city treasurer are not here every day and subsequently cannot be, supervising their appointees every day. But I will work closely with both the treasurer and the clerk to ensure that we have a seamless transition, and we will respect their right to appoint someone they see fit to those positions.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments on this item? If not, can I get a motion to adopt ordinance number 1795?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
No.
Councilmember Kaskanian.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 8A6. Mr. City Manager?
Agenda number 8A6 is a resolution number 6327 approving the modified California Games collection rates at the Hustler Casino. On March 20th, 2018, the Hustler Casino received written approval from the State of California Department of Justice, Bureau of Gaming Control, to modify their gambling establishments' California Games collection rates. The approval of the changes, although already approved by the State of California, is subject to the adoption of a formal resolution by the City Council. These agenda items come up frequently after receiving approval for either a change in the collection rates or a change in a game or introduction of a new game. And even though the state does approve it, after their review and forwarding to us, we have to adopt it formally before they can implement it. So what is required by the council is to adopt resolution number 6327.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments? Give me 1 second. Councilmember Medina?
Didn't we have this ordinance a few years back when it comes to
new games, first of all, they have to be approved by the state before we even approve it. Is this changing anything?
In any game where they change the collection rates or they introduce a new game, and they're introducing a lot of new games.
Right, exactly.
To just kind of modify the different type of play, it has to come to the city council. Even though the state has approved it, it is a requirement because we're the local controlling agency to get it approved.
Yeah, didn't we have this before?
Yeah, we have them quite frequently. In fact, in the next council meeting, there's going to be another one because they introduced another new game. So they come to us every time they change either a game or collection rate, and it's approved by the state. I just saw another one, so next council meeting there'll be another one on a new game.
Oh, but you're going to name the specific game, because in years past we've approved new games and new types of games that different casinos have had. So what specific game are we modifying?
This is actually just the collection rates for the.
Oh, just the okay.
Yeah.
That I didn't catch that because we've had about 20 or 30 different new games that have been introduced by both. Well, at one time 6 casinos, but now it's 2. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Just a quick question. What rates are they actually changing? Because I read this thing and I wasn't quite sure what are they going up in certain games?
There's quite a few changes. So
yeah, no, I saw that.
Yeah.
So I guess my basic question is, so we don't have to go into this whole thing, is they're just raising the hourly rate in certain games?
No, for example, so let's just take one of the schedules on a game where the table limit is $5 to $500, which $50, which is a sort. The current player fee is 50 cents, and the player dealer fee is $2. So what they're doing is they're changing to a new schedule and adjusting the table limits and the amount of the player fee and the player dealer fee for each of those different schedules. They have to get all of their changes approved by the state to ensure that they're in compliance with the California gaming laws, and then they came to us for basically ratification.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion? I'm sorry, you have a question?
So moved.
Oh, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, can you call the roll for the adoption of resolution number 6327? It was made by Councilmember Medina and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8A7.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A7 is resolution number 6331, adopting the City of Gardenia's classification and compensation plan effective July 21st, 2018. The staff recommends that the City Council adopt the resolution approving the City of Gardenia's classification and compensation plan to be effective July 1st, 2018. Resolution number 6331 sets the compensation rates for all City of Gardena employees, Gardena Police Officers Association members, Gardena Municipal Employee Association members, Gardena Management Employee Association members, and all other represented and other employees in the city. Exhibit A of the resolution incorporates the changes of the City of Gardena's classification plan that are approved as really part of agreements already established with GPOA, GMEA, and GMEO. As a result of these agreements, as I mentioned previously, the PERS rates will be increased for public safety. GPOA will be receiving their raises as come before the City Council relative to their formulaed analysis that we survey every year. All other employees will be receiving a 2% cost of living adjustment to all other employees. In addition, the police lieutenants and police captain and police chief will be receiving, in lieu of the corresponding raises that the sergeants received in GPOA, they'll instead be receiving a 3% cost of living and a 5% educational incentive bonus rather than the 8% that essentially the sergeants will be receiving. Now, keep in mind, these pay increases are also offset by the increases in PERS that the public safety employees will be making. As indicated in the approvals of the MOU, GPOA, GMEO, and GMEA, plus all of the unrepresented employees, the fiscal year 2018-19 increase will be $1.9 million. General fund will be 1.7 of it, and the $218,000 will come from the enterprise fund. All of these have been included in our fiscal budget, and there are significant. There's a proper amount of funding to pay for all of these increases.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments at this time? If not, can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6331?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8A8. Mr. City Manager.
Agenda number 8A8 is authorized payment to TECS Environmental Compliance Services for MS4 permit-related activities. In 1987, the Clean Water Act was amended to require the Environmental Protection Agency issue national pollutant discharge elimination systems, municipal stormwater permits for clean stormwater discharges into rivers, lakes, and oceans. This is separate from large storm sewer systems, which serve a large population of 250,000 or more. Part of the compliance requires us to decrease the pollutants in stormwater and urban runoff. TEC Environmental Compliance provided services to ensure we complied with the MS4 permit related to activities including annual reporting. The general fund impact is $29,930. Although this is within the city manager's authority, the reason it's coming before the city council is because there's not a current service contract with TECS. So it's outside of really my authority to approve a contract without the service agreement. What we will be doing is moving forward not only with this, TCS, but also have asked all city staff to look at making sure that we're in compliance with all our current, service agreements. Sometimes they just run out. We don't have them. We provide services or legacy providers, et cetera. So we're doing a review to ensure all the people who do work with Gardena have current agreements in place. So what is required is just approval to pay the $29,930.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Well, I have a question. So was there ever a contract with this gentleman?
In 2015, when I was the director of Police, Streets, and Development Services, I did sign a agreement for this similar type of work, but he has been doing business for our city for a long, long time. We've paid him $1.1 million. I don't believe the systems were as tight in place a long, long time ago, and off and on things like this can occur. We just want to ensure in moving forward that all the people providing services to the city have a current contract. It just not only protects the city, it protects the people providing service to us.
And is this final payment? There will be no more payments to this company?
No, there is another invoice that's pending that will be coming to the city council for consideration.
Okay. And it was submitted at a later time, which is separate from this here. Is that correct?
This invoice is the one that was received first. The next one has come in subsequent to that.
Okay. Councilmember Henderson?
In regards to the fulfillment of the agreement, have all the parts of the agreement been fulfilled, or that's what this last invoice is?
Yeah, we don't have an agreement. It's sort of a word of, I don't know how to describe it. We just had a verbal agreement. There's additional invoicing that has occurred since this bill. Some of it I will be bringing forward to the city council for approval. Other parts of it we're still reviewing, but this is not the last one.
So in regards to if there's a disagreement on what's been fulfilled, what has not been fulfilled, how could we potentially resolve that?
That's an excellent question. You know, city staff has to evaluate the services that were provided, and if they were provided, I mean, I think that we have to show good effort and pay for it, regardless of whether there's an agreement or not. If there are things that were not authorized or anything, we'll look at that and work with the provider to see if we come to some resolution. Some of the things that we have, the next bill, I think we believe is all been provided, and there's no reason. There's actually 2 more bills in the works, so there's one bill that we're reviewing a little bit closer.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Okay, so I just a quick question here. Looking at this invoice, so all the services that are on this invoice, do we have records of what transpired? Or is it just by word that I had a meeting with so-and-so, and I had a meeting with so-and-so, and I had a meeting with so-and-so, and I'm billing you for it? So I could say I had a meeting with Councilman Henderson, and I'm charging you. And I have no report.
Well, yeah, some of the meetings we can justify because, for example, there's a meeting with John Harris, who works for Lock Lord. He's an attorney that represents us. We can certainly, we know that the meeting did take place. We don't believe that there's any of these that did not occur, but just like anything else, you know, we're not always present in all those. We have to take the good faith effort that they are representing us there. I'm sure if we asked for further backup, they could provide it, but you know, we scrutinized this bill and didn't believe there's anything that.
So we don't really request any information about what the meeting, how it took place, or what was transpired through that meeting?
Well, we do. You know, as you move forward, and the longer I'm in this position, the more I realize that, you know, we do have to be a little bit tighter on our internal controls in terms of what we're asking our contractors, not just this one, any of them, what we're asking them to do, and that we can validate that what we're asking them to do is actually done. You know, we certainly you're certainly making an effort to, as you have seen by many things I've brought before the City Council, to improve our internal controls so that we do know and have evidence to show that, you know, what is being alleged is actually being performed.
Okay.
Councilmember Kiskanian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, 2 questions. Prior you signing the agreement 2 years ago or in 2015, right? Was there any contract with him for past 8 years, or he was just open? And my next question is, do we have an expiration date for the contract that you signed in 2015?
So we could not locate any agreements in place other than the one that I executed when I was the director of PSDS for inspection services prior to that. So I don't know how those agreements were, well, there's not agreements, I don't know how that verbal agreement relationship was started or how it was facilitated. I can only tell you what I do know is that I've only had one contract I executed. I wasn't the city manager, as I was PSDS director. That expired after that work was performed, and then any work moving forward, we have not had any agreement with TECS. So that is not the ideal of business practice, and certainly once identified, we are moving forward to, you know, to ensure that that does not occur moving forward. And as I stated previously, I asked at the last staff meeting that all our directors go back and look at every single contract to ensure they're in compliance, to ensure that they're active, that we have insurance and all the required documents. And it's important for a variety of reasons. Not only is it important because it's the right thing to do, but it also specifies, you know, what they're going to do for us, what we're going to pay for them to do for us, and also who retains the records and who retains all of the property, whether it be intellectual or otherwise, that is a result of that contract. So it protects the city, and we do these all the time. There's no reason for us not to be on top of this. And as I said, I will make sure that I'm holding all of the directors accountable to ensure our agreements are in place.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Councilmember Medina?
Yes, so in essence, we're basically asking to pay for services rendered. And granted that the verbal agreements that were made with our former city manager were basically all verbal from what I remember. And I've been here for 10 years, and every time that the TEC had to perform a service, he was usually asked, or they were usually asked by our city manager, and apparently everything was accomplished and confirmed. Otherwise, we would have had a problem with not paying him. So I agree with making sure that from this point forward, we have contracts going with regards to any service performed for the city. The irony behind this whole scenario is that there was a verbal agreement between our former city manager, and whenever the request was made, it was agreed verbally and it was taken care of, and that was that. So let's move forward on a positive mode, because apparently the company has accomplished everything they said they were going to accomplish, from what I understand, as far as complying with what was asked of them to do.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. In looking this over for myself, I have a lot of concern about this particular item here, and especially if there are a couple of more bills that will be coming moving forward. So for myself, we'll go ahead and call for the vote, but I have some real concerns with this paying this particular company here. So can I get a motion to authorize payment on item number 8A8?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
I have a question.
Go ahead, your question.
I still got a question. We have 2 pending invoices still, correct?
That is correct.
Is it possible to, because there was no prior agreement officially, and it was verbal agreement between former city manager and TECS, and now you've inherited it, signed the contract, and now we have 2 other invoices. Is it possible to just do an audit of, make sure that all the services have been rendered, bundle the other invoices, and maybe negotiate some sort of term, and then kind of complete the relationship?
Councilman Henderson, I did do an audit, and that's when I discovered, that we paid this contractor, over $1 million, over, around 20 years, and that there was no other contracts. As we move forward with the other invoices, like I said, in this invoice through staff, we have validated that we believe all of the services that are alleged in this invoice were completed. The other 2, and it would be my recommendation to approve this one as a standalone, not try to bundle them to mix. We don't want to muddy the waters relative to the process of each individual. I will not bring forward for the City Council to approve any invoice that staff has not validated that it's worthy of payment. But in this case, we believe that the work was rendered, and even though there's no agreement, we should pay it. I can't say that that's going to be the case for all of them as we move forward, but I'll have to evaluate them very closely to ensure that they did, the work was performed.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that with us here. So at this time, can I get a motion to adopt item number 8A8? Oh, I'm sorry, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
With great hesitation, yes.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
No. Next up is item number 8A9. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A9 is resolution number 6333, authorization to join the California State Association of Counties Excess Insurance Authority and contract with the California State Access Insurance Authority, EIA Broker Alliant, joining the California State Association of Counties Excess Broker Authority and contract with CSAC, I'm going to abbreviate there, Broker Alliant, to reduce our cost for insurance premium and risk management needs. EIA's membership has expanded to include 54 of the 58 counties in California and nearly 65% of the cities in California, as well as school districts, special district, housing authorities, fire districts, and other joint powers authority. The broker fee for this fiscal year 2018-19 is fixed at $85,000. The switch of insurance coverage from the city's current broker, BB&T, to CSAC resulted in a net savings, as I previously showed you, of over $780,000. The agreement with Alliant would be effective July 1st, 2018 through July 30th, 2019, with the option to renew the agreement annually for the next 4 years with a fixed 3% increase per year. The fiscal impact to the general fund is $55,000 and $29,000 to the enterprise fund. It is requested that you approve resolution number 6333.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this item here? If not, can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6333?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Councilmember Cascanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka?
Yes.
Councilmember Medina?
Yes.
Mayor Serta?
Yes. Next up is item number 8A10. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor, Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A10 is renewal of a license agreement between the City of Gardena and Friends of Gardena Willows Wetland Preserve, Inc. Staff recommends that the City Council approve a renewal of the license agreement between the City of Gardena and the Gardena Friends of the Willows Wetland Preserve, Inc. The previous agreement expired in March of 2018. The new agreement would commence on July 1st, 2018 and end June 30th, 2028. Which is 10 years. The agreement grants the Friends of the Willow a non-exclusive, revocable license to utilize the preserve for conducting activities and a licensee's sole cost and expense. When I refer to non-exclusive, that means the city still has the rights to use the willows, as it sees fit, and we are giving them the non-exclusive right to use the facility. The agreement provides for a 30-day termination for any reason with noticing. I understand that the Willows wanted to look at this agreement from the perspective of a different way in terms of an MOU. Talking with the city attorney, it was decided that it was best to move forward with a new agreement, and at subsequent time, whether we believe some changes need to be made, we can add those. Essentially, the request from the Willows is to provide some assurances about what the city will do and what they will support, and essentially what they will provide funding for. This agreement does not provide anything that was not in the previous agreement. It's simply an extension almost of the previous agreement. Requirement is to approve the license agreement renewal, and just for further clarification, I'll be working with the Willows Wetland Preserve Group to see what changes could be incorporated if needed later.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments at this time? If not, can I get a motion to approve the license agreement renewal?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka?
Yes.
Councilmember Medina?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian?
Yes.
Mayor Serta?
Yes. Next up is item number 8A11. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A11 is an agreement between the City of Gardena and Robert E. Sendejas Associates, Inc. for professional services. This agreement is part, once again, of our overall strategy to improve economic development and bring sales tax revenue to the City of Gardena. Robert E. Sendejas Association, Inc. will assist the City of Gardena to determine local sales tax allocation solutions for potential businesses and negotiate terms of location agreements that would provide an incentive for large retail sales businesses located to the city for 20 or more years. Agreement also include local sales tax audits and/or other matters before the Board of Equalization. Mr. Sendejas specializes in the sales and use tax allocation matters and partners with cities to recruit and consolidate major sales tax generating businesses. We did research on Mr. Sendejas and checked references, and they all came back positive. The establishment of major retail businesses, sales offices with the city will generate substantial revenue for the city, create new jobs, and result in community and public improvements that might not otherwise be available to the communities for many more years. The consultant will receive a fee each year, which shall be calculated entirely on the local sales and use tax by the major retail businesses introduced to the city by the consultant and contracted by the city under a location agreement. Council retains the sole discretion to enter into or not enter any of the proposed agreement. Fees paid to the consultant are determined by the sums retained per each location. For example, no fee shall be paid for sums retained under $500,000 for each location agreement. A 15% sums retained between $500,000 to $2 million for each location agreement, and then 20% retained above $2 million for each location agreement. This, once again, is another opportunity to have and work with a consultant that will bring businesses otherwise not looking at Gardena as a place to call home base, and it is hopeful, and it is our desire, hopefully he exceeds the largest impact, which is businesses above $2 million. What is required by the city is approved agreement between the City of Gardena and Robert E. Sendejas Association Professional Services. Peter Wallen has reviewed the agreement and worked closely with Mr. Sendejas to ensure that it is a fair and equitable partnership for the city.
Okay, great. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, in the spirit of transparency and different things like that, so people don't think Mr. Robert Sendejas is our friend and he's going to give us a kickback, if somebody were to hit us with a Freedom of Information Act to ask us about our due diligence process, will we be able to produce that information?
Sure, and not only that, I mean, we would be willing to enter into any of these agreements with anyone who could, you know, agree to the terms and bring in businesses that can produce revenue. It's really solely up to him to see if he can develop those business relationships and bring those businesses here. If he doesn't get anything. So it's really his incentive to bring those business here to the City of Gardena.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? I have, oh, I'm sorry,
I was just gonna,
Go ahead.
My only question is, and he is responsible to you.
As a consultant, he works, after this agreement is exercised, he works under the direction of the city manager. It'd be my authority to, you know, terminate the contract if necessary. But you know, checking his references, he does have good references. And ultimately, this is just you know, it may work. He may bring us great businesses. It may not. But certainly no loss to the city because his fees are contingent on what he brings to the city.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Well, I personally think this is great. This is exactly what we need. But the one question I did have when I was reading through this earlier, is there a specific time period? Like, is this contract for 2 years, 5 years, or is it just ongoing until we decide to terminate, or what? Because I couldn't find that when I read through this earlier.
It remains in effect until all services are completed or until terminated, but since it is kind of ongoing, I mean, that's standard language. So basically, there are termination provisions.
Right.
And the city can terminate it at any time.
Okay,
So
I
the
see.
city is protected.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the professional service agreement?
So move.
Is there okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina?
I'm sorry, it was Councilmember Henderson made the motion and Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
I know, it's confusing.
Made the second.
Okay. Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka?
Yes.
Councilmember Medina?
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian?
Yes.
Mayor Serta?
Yes. Next up is item number 8B1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8B1 is approval of plans and specifications and authorization to solicit bids for a sewer rehabilitation 2016 at various locations. This is job number 895. The estimated project cost is $800,000. What's required is approved plans and specifications and authorize staff to solicit bids for sewer rehabilitation 2016 at various locations. The project was delayed to allow revenues from adjustments to the sewer fund to be collected. So you remember, as we adjusted our sewer funds, we're now be able to realize some of these projects that we have been waiting for. And although a lot of people don't find this particularly, important or visible, it is very important to ensure that our infrastructure below grade is kept and maintained well. The project will do $150,000 in smart covers, $90,000 for consultation fees, $490,000 for construction, and $70,000 for administrative staff time, totaling $800,000. The project will clean and video approximately 88 miles of city sewer systems, approximately 1,600 manhole covers from sewer system, perform minor repairs, and install 30 smart covers. The project is exempt from CEQA requirements, and a notice of exemption will be filed with the County of Los Angeles Recorder's Office. Sufficient funds to complete the project were appropriated by the Council in the 2015-2016 capital improvement budget using sewer funds, which is about $800,000. What's required is to approve the plans and specifications and authorize staff to solicit bids.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? I have one question here. The 80 miles that it's going to clean and video, is that 80 miles in the entire city that we have of sewer, or is that just a portion?
It's not all of the sewers, but it's almost all of it. And what happens is we videotape the sewers, and that allows us to prioritize the parts of the sewer system that are degrading faster than others.
Okay.
The videotape, is also used after to show before and after improvements, especially like with sewer linings, et cetera.
Okay.
And it's kept on file in the engineering department.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to authorize the plans and specifications to authorize to solicit for bids for this?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8C1, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8C1 is resolution number 6328, approving the acceptance and award for the State of California's Department of Alcohol Beverage Control Grant Assistance Program in the amount of $37,216. The Gardena Police Department received a grant award in the amount of $37,216 from the Department of Alcohol Beverage Control to reduce alcohol-related violations at various locations with the City of Gardena. The grant falls under the 2018-19 Alcohol Policing Partnership Program, which supports the department's overall goal to provide comprehensive enforcement and prevention efforts during this period. The resolution must be adopted to authorize the Chief of Police to accept the grant awarded from the State of California, which will provide for education and enforcement of alcohol regulations in the City of Gardena. There is no general fund impact. What is required is to adopt a resolution which allow us to get the money from this grant.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6328?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Mayor Serta. Mayor Serta. It's a lot tonight.
It is.
It's a lot of stuff.
We are built for this.
Yes. Next up is item number 8D1, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8D1 is approval of resolution number 6330, which is approves the local agreement number CCTR 8076 with the California Department of Education for fiscal year 2018-19. The California Department of Education has approved a contract in the amount of $2,052,000, which provides funding for the Gardena Family Child Care Program, or GFCC, for fiscal year 2018-19. GFCC provides quality education and subsidized child care in licensed family child care homes in Gardena and bordering cities. Services are provided to low-income families whose parents are employed in school, training, or seeking employment, are incapacitated and require a system. There's approximately 185 children enrolled in GFCC, and the age ranges between an infants and 12-year-old. Support services are also provided for the benefit of the total family. The number of child care homes, there's approximately 28, give or take. There's generally a wait list for this program. The minimum numbers of days of operation is 250. Minimum numbers of hours open is 45,170. So this is a very important program to the community. What is required is to adopt resolution number 6330 and approve the local agreement number CCTR 8076 with the California Department of Education.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to adopt resolution 6330 and approve the local agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Cascanian and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8E1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8E1 is to approve an award of contract to Michelin North America, Inc. for bus tire lease services for a contract amount not to exceed $402,636, and to amend the existing contract with Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company to cover the remaining life of existing tires at the amount not to exceed $110,000. The existing Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company agreement will expire July 30th, 2018. The contract includes tire maintenance and replacement of tires for 56 buses. In preparation for the expiration of the contract, G-Trans released an invitation for bids for a bus tire lease. The bid was posted on several transportation sites and on Planet Bids. 11 vendors were notified and 6 downloaded the application. G-Trans received 2 bids for this notification. Michelin North America, Inc. submitted the lowest bid and was determined to be the best and most responsible submission. The contract is a base of 2 years with 3 one-year extensions. The new contract will also include the service of replacing the tires in order to ease the workload on current maintenance personnel. The current agreement with Goodyear Tire requires G-Trans to purchase the remaining life on the leased tires it currently has. The cost associated with the purchase of those tires will not exceed $110,000. What is required is to approve the contract and amend the existing contract. Just for your information, you might wonder what's the average tire life for the tires. They run approximately 40,000 miles per year. Tires are good for 35,000 or 8 to 10 months, bearing any like road hazards or anything, special that happens. I wouldn't say special, damaging that happens to the tires.
Well, thank you. That's good to know. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Henderson.
Mr. City Manager, since G-Trans is an enterprise fund and we bought the rest of the life on the remaining tires, can we just use our new tires and resell those other ones to Torrance or something like that?
Based on the funding, how G-Trans receives its funding, that would not be allowable from not a variety of rules.
Disregard my last thing.
Can I get a motion to, I'm sorry, with any other questions or comments? Okay, Councilmember Cascanian.
Thanks. Thank you, Madam Mayor. One of my questions was to find out how far we can go, how many miles we drive on the tires. But my second question is, do we go through the tires every year? I mean, do we consume do we use all these tires that we pay, the contract?
Yeah.
What happens if we don't use all the tires that we don't purchase or we don't, do we get less? We pay less, or?
We only pay for the tires that we actually use. But for example, you know, the tires that generally last between 8 and 10 months, you know, or 40,000 miles, I've explained. But because we have an ongoing agreement with Goodyear, we estimated we would fulfill that agreement, which cost us $110,000. Now, those tires are not going to just sit there. We're going to use those tires first before we start using the Michelin tire lease.
Any other questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to approve the contract?
So moved.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka. Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8E2. Mr. City Manager.
Agenda number 8E2 is approve award of contract with Macro, a division of Ross and Barzuni. Hope I got that right. ITS Consulting Services with a contract amount of $110,000, $940,000, and a program total not to exceed $127,581,000. The City of Gardena, G-Trans, is preparing to implement several new critical systems as part of its Intelligent Transportation System, ITS, that will maximize automation, efficiency, data collection, and analysis. The 5 systems include computer-aided dispatch, automated vehicle location dispatching and monitoring system, and real-time next bus arrival information system, bus signal priority integration, vehicle health monitoring solution, and its ITS data management and reporting solution. G-Trans issued a request for proposal to seek a qualified firm to provide technical expertise in recommending and developing requirements for its ITS project. The proposal was advertised in the Daily Breeze, online transit trade magazines, and Planet Bids. 37 vendors registered for the solicitation. 3 proposals were received. After evaluation and negotiating, Macro was selected to provide consulting services to G-Trans. Macro is a highly qualified firm that has provided this type of service to both large and small transit agencies. All of these systems were working to be completely integrated with all of the new technologies that G-Trans is implementing. So it is required there is no general fund impact. It's required to authorize a not to exceed $127,581, which includes a $15,000 contingency fee. It's all sponsored by Prop 1 Transit Security Funds, which requested is approve the new contract and program not to exceed the total program amount.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to approve the contract?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, a motion was made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Councilmember Cascanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8E3. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8E3 is approve award of contract to Clever Devices Ltd. for the purchase and installation of automatic passenger counting systems for a contract amount of $259,041 and program total not to exceed $434,586. In an effort to improve G-Trans' current methods of counting ridership, G-Trans released a request for proposal to seek a qualified contractor to design, furnish, and install an automated passenger counting system in 41 40-foot buses. The RFP was advertised in the Daily Breeze newspaper, Transit and Transit Intelligence. The RFP was also sent to 8 known vendors. 2 proposals were received in response to the RFP. Clever Devices Ltd. was the only proposal determined to be responsible and responsive. The second proposal did not meet the minimum qualifications required in the proposal and was disqualified. Clever Devices also provided an option to install APCs on 25 additional buses at an amount of $175,544. This will be used when the new CNG fleet is purchased. The approximate cost per each bus is about $6,590 $85, which is 41 in the current fleet and 25 of the new buses that we're looking at. The fiscal impact is $434,586, all funded by federal grants available to G-Trans. No general fund impact. Required by the council is to approve contract and program not to exceed the total specified.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to approve the contract?
So moved.
Is there a second? Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Councilmember Cascanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8E4. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8E4 is approve contract to CHI Construction for labor to install bus stop signage, hardware, and seating for a contract amount of $186,931 and a program total not to exceed $226,186. The final stage of the bus stop improvement project includes enhanced signage, seating, lighting, and other amenities at bus stops throughout its system. For example, in your council packages, there's a sample of new lighting systems that the G-Trans is testing. It's a really unique example. G-Trans has purchased 525 stop signage and poles. An invitation for bid to seek a qualified contractor to install this equipment throughout the G-Trans system was issued. The bid was issued on Planet Bids, and 11 vendors registered through the Planet Bids for solicitation. G-Trans received one solicitation from CHI Construction. A cost analysis was performed on CHI Construction to evaluate the responsibility and responsiveness of this vendor. Since G-Trans received only a single bid for this procurement, staff followed up with the interested proposer to understand why others did not submit for this bill. And the general consensus was that everyone had a lot of work and they weren't able to accommodate G-Trans' schedule. So I guess that says a good thing about what's going on in the economy. G-Trans is requesting the authority to accommodate a variance of 10% along with an additional 10% contingency to accommodate unforeseen circumstances that may arise for a total of $39,255 or 20%. There's no general fund impact. It's not to exceed $226,186. What is required is to approve the contract and program in the not to exceed amount.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments? Councilmember Medina?
I've been looking at, are the lights going to be solar?
Yes, in your package, there's a really unique memo.
I was looking at that, but I didn't see where it said solar.
The sign. And not only that, there's various different options for lighting. It could be like a beam, or it could be more of a sort of a softer light. That's the first one that they're going to try. It's sort of a beta project, but if it works well, then we can see that expanding in different areas.
Clever idea.
Any other questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to approve the contract on item number 84? Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Councilmember Cascanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Tasha Serta.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item number 9B, which is council directives, and I'd just like to thank the audience for bearing with us. We had a lot to go over tonight, and I know it's getting late, so we're going to keep it moving on fairly quickly here from this point. So, Mr. City Manager, do you have anything, I'm sorry, council directives, does the City Council have any directives for our City Manager? Councilmember Medina.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to ask if it's feasible to have a study session on the MS4, because we're still going through a lot of changes with regards to the application and the fees and the deadlines that we have to meet. And I thank you for the update on the last one with regards to the sewers and the sewers, I'm sorry, stormwater sewer system. And I'd like to have the whole City Council be abreast of that, because only a couple of us get the hang of what it is. And I would really appreciate having a study session for all of us to learn, including our public works people.
Any other directives?
Madam
Councilmember
Mayor.
Henderson?
Did that receive a second? So just
Is there a second on that item? I'm sorry.
Sure, I'd like to learn something else about it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I will second it.
The directives I have are kind of just more ideas, and we can see, is it possible to get an update on our filming permits and different things like that? Because I've noticed since our time off, I've watched a lot of movies, and a lot of them are going down Redondo Beach Boulevard and different places and everything. So I just want to get an update on that, which is encouraging. So I'd love to get a second. Well, let me get a second on that, if I could. Just the update on our.
I'll second it.
Right. The other thing is it possible for us to investigate as we push to save paper, to start having our departmental reports online, if it's possible? And then
with respect to you talking about the monthly reports, yeah, if I could just quick update, we're actually working on a completely automated monthly report, because I know that's a lot of paper and it's a lot to go through. It's much more streamlined, so certainly that's in the works.
Okay, thank you for that. So we'll take that off. And then the other one is just a kind of an idea in regards to all these engineering projects and economic development and the G-Trans projects. Is it possible for us to work with South Bay WIB or GGIP to see if we could have kind of Gardena-only job fairs for some of our community to participate in some of these opportunities, and maybe have it at our South Bay WIB facility, Gardena One Stop? I mean, it's just a possibility to look at, to start trying to get our community employed and start, or at least provide the opportunity.
That's good.
Need a
Second.
Okay.
Go ahead. Are there any other directives at this time? I have one quick one, and I don't know if this is a directive or a suggestion. So our sign that we have, which says, all fireworks are illegal, and I noticed it on the big screen over at the Honda business there. I was wondering if it's possible if we could get maybe a second sign that just says all fireworks are illegal, because it's kind of hard to read because there's so much information on that one slide that comes up. And I understand all of this information is important, that it's probably publicized, but maybe there could be a secondary slide that just has all fireworks are illegal in Gardena, just very large. I think that would help out a lot.
Yeah, we can certainly work on that. One of the things that we don't have is like the poles to suspend signs and things like that, but it's certainly, would be worth the investment of looking at what it would take to engineer some of that. I know those get a lot of visibility.
Correct.
We can certainly put it on the park signs as well, and we'll explore other opportunities. There's certainly any place that we can get more information out. Ultimately, I'd like to have us have an electronic billboard out in front of City Hall.
Okay.
Can I make another suggestion also?
Well, is your directive?
Yeah. No, it's an addendum to it.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add if we could also post it on Nextdoor, our local Gardena app, and also on our website itself.
Okay, are there any other council directives? If not, we're going to move on to the city manager's remarks regarding directives and council items.
Yes, just as a reminder, in your package, there's information about developments and sort of an update that we provide on a regular basis on what's going on, sort of in plan or being considered. Until I was asked that you take a look at that. If you have questions, please reach out to me. Remember, the sister city visit to Gardena by our youth delegation is coming up. You have information on that. Also included in your packages is a coyote flyer that we are sending out and trying to distribute. It is becoming more and more of a problem in Gardena, and we're trying to stay on top of that. It's really good to see that G-Trans is doing another innovative project. They're working with SCE to hopefully get a grant for $700,000+ to help pay for some of their solar charging needs as a result of the electric buses. So we're really excited, and hopefully that will come to fruition and help us offset some of those costs. If you have not noticed, there's been a substantial amount of change here in the Gardena City Hall. The City Hall lobby is completely redone. Very soon we'll have a very large, I think 80-inch screen TV that will be broadcasting all information across it, such as probably no fireworks. We'll also be having 2 self-service kiosks in a seating area for our community to come in and use it. Overall, the city also has a new large training room that can possibly hold around 50 people. So now we have another area where we can utilize to meet. The last thing is part of our economic development plan. Although it was interesting that everyone spoke today about that, we will be having forums in North Gardena that talk about economic development and thoughts. We'll probably host those at GTrans, and as part of as a process move forward and things come forward, we want to solicit community input on that. So that should be forthcoming. That's all I have, Mayor Serta.
Okay, thank you. So, can you hold it to your remarks, or because you're coming up pretty quickly? Okay, let's move on to council remarks. I know it's getting kind of late here, so we're going to begin tonight with Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And because it's been a couple of meetings, I'll go real fast because there was a lot of stuff. Last meeting, VFW Post 1961 Memorial Day observance. Public Works Week. Thank you, Joe. Public Works did a great job of entertaining our students. Pioneer Project fundraiser thrown up by Cherry Stones to help our seniors. Budget planning session. Thank you, City Manager, and those that created that, because it was very informative. I appreciate it. I met with a representative from South Bay Aerospace, as I am the alternate representative for that. Flag Day ceremony at the Elks Lodge, presented by our Girl Scout troop. And the City Flag Day observance held by the Beautification Committee at City Hall. RCC meeting, where I'm the chairman. We passed our budget, and our new director, Eric Lee, did a fantastic job. I was very impressed at the information that he put out in his budget presentation, so it was a great choice, Ed. Let's see. Well, I attended the promotional announcement for Chris Cuff to lieutenant and Officer Mike Robbins to sergeant. Attended Soul Food Shack's grand opening. Attended JCI Matsuri Festival. Police Foundation golf tournament yesterday. It was a great time. Attended Mrs. Jean Comey's funeral. She was a longtime resident and a member of my church. And we send blessings to Captain David Rosa's family, who was the Long Beach firefighter captain that was killed on the line of duty. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Because the hour is long, I won't take long. I was with a lot of places with Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka, so since he covered a lot of that, I won't say anything else. I did get a chance to go to the Gardena Economic Business Development Council meeting, and so those can understand that we are focusing on the Rosecrans corridor. We talked about that in our budget session. As you can see, all our efforts are actually gearing towards that. I stopped by the carnival a little bit. I was also at El Camino College this past weekend. Senator Bradford had a housing summit and resource fair, and we were there talking about workforce housing and different things like that, and how a community can actually begin to look at having affordable housing in the community. However, it's really a tough balance because this area is so hot and market pricing is kind of dictating, so we'll see how Gardena handles that. I was also at the Soul Food Shack ribbon cutting. I want to thank the Public Works Department picking up bulk items this morning. They were actually sweating, and it was like already 7:45 in the morning, and they were working hard, so I want to acknowledge that as well. So again, I want to encourage the community, as you see our city staff out and about doing their work, please acknowledge them. I also want to give hats off to G-Trans for the solar lighting at the bus stop. I've already been getting positive feedback on those things already, so folks are excited about that, so we got to keep going. I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. I'm sure the mayor's going to speak to that. This week, I want to wish my mother a happy birthday in heaven. She would have been 70 on Wednesday, and I want to wish happy wedding anniversary to my wife, Mrs. Nichelle Henderson. Our wedding anniversary will be Wednesday as well. So Madam Mayor, so ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Next is Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last council meeting, I attended Flag Day, which our beautification committee was in charge, and I want to congratulate St. Anthony School for taking first, second, and third place out of 259 applications. The theme was what the American flag means to me, and it was very moving. For those of you who get the Gardena Valley News, you'll see the essays that they wrote, first, second, and third, and also from Amistoy Elementary, we had young man Matthew Herrera, who had the most inspirational essay on what the American flag means to him. And with him, it was unity and love for each state that you live in, because he has family in almost every state across the nation. And I was very pleased that a couple of days after that, I got to play for the concert on the lawn, the ice cream social. Well, our next ice cream social will be July 21st, and right after that, August 18th, we'll have another concert with a big band, and I'm really happy that people come by, get free ice cream, and I'd like to thank Kelly Fugio and Pauline Moses for providing that to our residents. It's absolutely free. The concerts are free. If you like big band, August the 18th. If you like reggae and rock and roll, July 21st. I also wanted to mention that as far as the Rosecrans Corridor is concerned, a few years back I was very blessed to be the president of the South Bay Council of Governments, and we garnered $20 million to fix up all of Rosecrans from Vermont all the way up to Crenshaw. And that was one of the things that was kind of passed over, but it was $20 million worth of improvements that has helped the north side as far as slowing down the cars, because at one time we didn't have any of those medians in the middle, we didn't have any of those islands, and the $20 million came into fixing all that. And also Congresswoman Maxine Waters contributed to putting the lights on Perchie, which before was a hazardous way to cross the street. So we've been slowly but surely working on getting Northern Rosecrans a lot of attention with regards to upkeep and beautification of that. And I also wanted to remind our city manager with regards to our last meeting where you asked for some wishes as far as, and I brought up the sound system up at Nakaoka Community Center, so I'm hoping that you follow up on that. And so, oh, by the way, I want to say hi to my granddaughter. Hi, Angelina.
Is that your report?
That's it.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Next up for myself, I'm going to go as quickly as I can as well. I attended over 23 events over the past couple of weeks. First one being the Medal of Valor ceremony. Also, I attended the Public Works Week. I also attended the Elks, their fish fry. I also had our Mayor's Challenge, and I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. I also attended Los Angeles Southwest Community College's graduation, where I was a keynote speaker. I also attended the budget planning session meeting. I also attended the Cashmere Gatekeepers Neighborhood Watch meeting, where I gave the State of the City address again to those who weren't able to make the last one. I also attended Executive Preps Financial Academy High School here in Gardena, their graduation, where I was also a speaker there. I also attended FedEx's regional meeting for the South Bay area and gave greetings to some of the regional managers across the western region to FedEx, greetings from the city of Gardena, and talked about all the great things that are going on here in the city of Gardena. And I also attended a Flag Day ceremony. I also attended the CERT retraining event that was held at G-Trans. I also attended the concert on the lawn. Also the District 1 meeting that was held at G-Trans. And on last Friday, I also attended the Juneteenth SEIU 721's event that they had, recognizing all the accomplishments of African Americans over the course of history. And on Saturday, I also attended the Soul Food Restaurant's grand opening. On Saturday, I also attended JCI's Carnival. And on Saturday also, the Martin Luther King Cultural Committee's Hatitude and Annual Tea. And then later on that evening, I attended Sarah High School's reunion they had for their classes that graduated anywhere from 50 to 65 years ago. And on yesterday, I attended the Gardena Police Department's, I'm sorry, the Gardena Police Foundation's annual golf tournament. I also attended Coffee with a Cop last week, and I also attended the Sanitation Committee meeting. And also, I also attended Gardena Elementary School as they gave a little recognition to the city of Gardena for just all the help that we've given them throughout the years. I'm sorry, over the past year. And just lastly, I'd just like to recognize just a couple of individuals in our city. First off, I'd like to just recognize the officer, I believe it was Officer Jose Avalos, is that his name correctly? Who, if many of you may have seen, he was on the news, not this past weekend, I think the weekend before. He saved a small baby's life, a 13-month-old baby that stopped breathing, and he and the officers took it upon themselves to get the small child to the hospital because I think the time the fire department could get there was taking too long. So I'd just like to congratulate him and thank him for thinking quickly and just reacting. Also, I'd like to I don't even know who this employee was, and maybe Kelly can help me figure it out. It's a good story, don't worry. But on our Mayor's Challenge that we had at Freeman's Park, we were out walking, myself and some residents and even some residents from outside of Gardena. We were walking around the park, and this one employee who was cleaning up the yard or the park had just happened to stop some of us, and actually the other residents were in front of me, and he was hey, how are you guys doing? You know, how's your day? And it's a great day outside. And these people were just so impressed that Gardena's staff just stopped them and just said nice things to them. And they actually came back and told me, because I was a few feet behind them, and said, does all your staff do that? And I go, well, yeah, they kind of do. But they were just so elated the fact that our staff just had a smile on their face and was just happy that we were even just at the park that day. They didn't know me or any of the other city people there, but just had a great personality. And I just thank you. Just please let your entire staff know. I don't even know who this gentleman was. I know he worked for Gardena, and he only worked the weekends, but he was so happy to have a job with the city of Gardena and was just happy to be there that day. So to not only him, but all of our employees who come in contact with the community, thank you for just doing a great job. And also, I'd just like to thank Stephanie for putting this little coyote flyer together here for our community, because we've been having a lot of questions and concerns about coyotes, and I'm sure this will be available in our hallway area here. And I'm sure we'll probably be even handing these out at some of our neighborhood watch meetings on just in case you come in contact with a coyote. So that ends my report. Next up is Councilmember Kaskanian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last meeting, I attended the Flag Day celebration at the Elks Lodge, Flag Day celebration in Nakawata Community Center. Thank you, Gardena Beautification Committee. July 21st, Coffee with the Cops at Krispy Kreme. June 25th at Gardena Police Foundation Golf Tournament. Great tournament. Thank you. And I would like to say thank you to the foundation, all the effort and all the contribution that they do to the police departments and to the community. Thank you very much, Foundation. And I would like to encourage everyone to attend tomorrow a day in the life, a drug abuse prevention learning experience at Nakawaka Community Center, June 27th from 6 to 8. I would like to acknowledge Public Work, Joseph Cruz. Thank you for the crew. They came to Western and Rosecrans, and they were cleaning all the weeds that the residents, they were complaining. So they were doing a great job. It's Rosecrans and Western, I can tell it's clean. So the sidewalks, everything, so it's been taken care of. I would like to remind the residents, no fireworks, 4th of July, so be safe, celebrate the 4th of July. What else? And yeah, and if you'd like to watch the fireworks, join us at the Raleigh Park, right, Kelly? All right. We're going to be there, all of us. At least I'm going to be there. And happy 4th of July. And that's end my report. Time to go home.
Okay, thank you. So a couple of quick announcements. Tomorrow, we are having a promotion ceremony for Lieutenant Chris Cuff and also Sergeant Mike Rollins, which will be here tomorrow, Wednesday, June 27th at 12 noon. So if you'd like to attend the promotion ceremony of these two officers, you're more than welcome to come, and light refreshments will be served afterwards. Also, as was mentioned by Councilmember Cascanian and also by our speaker, Jorge Guadique, we will have a day in the life, a drug abuse prevention learning experience, which will be tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Nakoka Community Center. And they will have information on drug abuse, education, networking, food, and raffles. I attended the previous one, and it's good not only for parents, but also for kids and even young kids, as well as we're trying to encourage our young people to not use drugs. And I'd just like to share this with my colleagues and those of you who are watching this at home. I was just given this information last week. There's going to be a grand opening of the new Grand Fish Tacos and Ceviche, I think that's how you pronounce it, Ceviche, on this coming Friday, June 29th from 2 to 5 p.m. And the manager said all are welcome to attend. She would love to see any and or all the city council if you're available to attend. I have a couple, it was great food. I have a couple of these to share with the council members as well as the staff as well. So I'll make sure our secretary has this and everyone is welcome to attend. And also, as was mentioned, the 4th of July, we will have our annual fireworks celebration at Raleigh Park on Wednesday, July the 4th. Prior to that, there will be food trucks that will open at 5 p.m. Everyone is welcome to bring your blankets, lawn chairs, umbrellas, and enjoy the day. The fireworks show, I believe, starts at 9. And it's always been a great show for everybody to attend. And so that's 4th of July. And then our official notification that all fireworks, aside from the big fireworks show, are illegal in the city of Gardena. So hopefully we can make sure we get that information out, and we'll have a quieter and safer 4th of July this coming year. So next up are our adjournments here. Tonight, we will be adjourning in memory of Mrs. Virgie E. Fletcher, who was 97 years old, and the beloved mother of Chris Hack, who was our former Administrative Services Director and Assistant City Manager, who retired here in June of 2013 after 23 years of service to the city of Gardena. Also, we're going to be adjourning in memory of Mrs. Jean Kumai, who was 96 years of age, longtime resident of Gardena and active in her church and the community. Her husband, Mr. Rio Kumai, passed away in December of 2016. He was a World War II veteran who owned and operated the Gardena Pharmacy for many years. Mr. Kumai is also a 1998 City of Gardena Wall of Fame honoree. We're also adjourning in memory of Mrs. Antoinette Estrada, who was 74 years of age, and the beloved aunt of senior clerk typist Karina Alvarado with the Recreation and Human Services, Parks and Facilities Department. We're also going to be adjourning in memory of Mr. Peter Roddy, who was 86 years old, the beloved father of John and father-in-law of Annie Roddy, a member of the Copcat and Neighborhood Watch Coordinator of District 3, and the beloved father-in-law of Mr. Steve Pond, a former employee of Gardena Public Works Department. We're also adjourning in memory of Mrs. Andrea Bryant, who was the former senior accountant clerk who worked for several years in the City of Gardena's Treasurer's Office until she resigned in 2005. We're also adjourning in memory of Fire Captain David Rosa, who was 45 years old, a 17-year veteran and father of two, serving with Station Number 10 of Long Beach Fire Department, who was shot and killed yesterday morning while responding to reports of an explosion at Covenant Manor, a senior living facility in Long Beach. We're also adjourning in memory of Mrs. Essie V. Kelly Dillon, who was 89 years of age, a Gardena homeowner, and active in our community for over 48 years. She was also a military veteran, having served in the U.S. Army, attaining the rank of Sergeant First Class. So tonight we're going to adjourn our regular City of Gardena Council meeting to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be on July the 10th, 2018 at 7 p.m. We are adjourned.